Hello and welcome to the Vandy 24/7 podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by guest Luke Wyatt. In today's show, we will discuss Vanderbilt's 2-2 baseball start and its home run output. We'll talk about basketball games ahead with Missouri and Tennessee. Speaking of FanDuel, Vanderbilt a 3.5-point favorite tonight against Missouri as we do this on a Wednesday morning. We'll take your questions and more in the mailbag. But first, a shout out to our sponsors. Our title sponsor for 2025 is Sylvan Park Ventures, a Nashville-based investment firm partnering with entrepreneurs, companies, and real estate opportunities through thoughtful growth capital and long-term relationships. Find out more at sylvanparkventures.com. Basketball season is presented by the Wash House. Commodore fans, don't waste your weekend stuck doing laundry when you could be cheering on the Doors. At the Wash House Laundry Center, we've got your back with our brand new pickup and delivery service. We'll pick it up, wash it, fold it, drop it back off, fresh, clean, and game day ready. Perfect for busy students, fans, and Nashville families on the go. Schedule your pickup now at washhouseclean.com. Anchored down with the Wash House Laundry Center. Baseball season is underway. That is presented by Scott Pettis Realty. Looking to buy or sell a home in Middle Tennessee? Trust Scott Pettis and Scott Pettis Realty. Vanderbilt graduate, class of 2008, and a Nashville native. With more than 18 years of real estate experience, Scott's deep roots and personal connections across the city give his clients a true edge. Whether you're buying your first home, selling a luxury property, or looking for that next level investment property, from starter homes to teardowns to million-dollar listings, Scott's done it all. He personally guides each client through each step of the buying and selling process. No teams, no handoffs, and no shortcuts. With the 2026 housing market shifting to a more balanced market, now's the time to act and have an experienced agent in your corner. Meet Scott at scottpettis.com. That is Pettus, and get Scott to work for you. Luke Wyatt, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well, sir.
Doing great. You got a busy week with Vandy baseball, basketball, and a big game with, of course, Missouri tonight, but Tennessee Saturday at home. And I'm going to be a little concerned about our basketball team, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I'm concerned right now.
Well, you can't just leave us hanging there.
Well, okay, if you want me to head off now.
Yeah.
Here's my thoughts. I've been, and it's more of a gut feeling than anything. Even though we won against Texas A&M, and I know A&M took Tyler Tanner away as much as they could, but I'm seeing, and maybe I'm overplaying this, but I'm seeing a tired Tyler Tanner. I'm seeing a kid whose explosiveness wasn't there Saturday. When he did have lanes to the basket, a lot of times he backed out of them. I just think this team has to get Duke Miles back, or we could be in for what happened last year where we lost, I guess, 4 of our last 5. I can see that possibly coming. I'm really worried. Missouri is a different team on their home floor, as most teams are. And I think they're like 14-1 at home this year. That's a good basketball team. I noticed the line was at 6.5, and it dropped all the way down to 3 or 3.5. That usually sends a message. I just feel like they've done as much as they can do. It just speaks to Byington's coaching prowess, how good they've done without having either one of Collins or Miles for this long a period of time.
Yeah, I think there's some truth there. Now, the supporting cast was awfully good. I mean, I don't think Tanner, even tired, will have a game that off in terms of scoring again, or maybe he will. I don't know with all you said. But, you did have 3 guys really step up and give them big-time games, and they won by 13. Now, I think A&M also is sort of – I think their season maybe has peaked. I don't know. But it's interesting. And didn't they say a week ago Miles would be back? Or about a week and a half ago, they thought Miles would be back within a week, and now we're looking at if he comes back, that'll be 2 for Tennessee.
It would be Tennessee, and I'm thinking he may not be back to the SEC tournament.
Really?
again, that's gut. That's not information. I'm just telling you, if you read between the tea leaves, Miles is working his butt off to get back. I do believe that. But I just don't know that they want to make sure he's there come NCAA tournament time.
Yeah.
But it cost us 2 or 3 seed spots if we don't have him back, at least by Saturday, where he can knock some rust off and maybe give Tyler, 5 to 7 minute rest.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where to go with that. I mean, I'm with you. I think they've gotten a ton out of what they have.
Oh, it's no
and it's weird they're not moving up at any of the polls. They won at Auburn and then beat A&M, 2 teams that are probably in the NCAA tournament today, and they stayed stagnant in the polls. It's just weird.
Well, I don't even look at the polls. I look at Ken Palm. That's what I go. I think they're 12th in Ken Palm this morning, so I'll take that all day. Here's my thing, Chris, and let me elaborate more on my point. Saturday we get 25 from Nickel, and I think 23 from Okereke, and 11 from Chandler Bing. How many get that?
No, you're right. I mean, there is a little bit of, is it a glass half empty or glass half full?
And I'm usually a glass half full guy.
Yeah.
I just think, again, all credit to Byington and those kids because they haven't gotten anything offensively from Mike James, and Tyler Harris has not ever come around, which I thought he would. I thought he'd be getting 6 to 8 points a game, and he still has I think the ability to do that. It's just for some reason his shot's just not falling. It's not like he's throwing up air balls. Everything's close to going in, but just never goes in. And by now, I'm sure it's confidence.
Yeah.
So so you're looking at really, if you take Bing, Harris, and James, that's your bench. That's your entire bench. Leverett's played a few minutes a couple games back, but he didn't play any of the last 2 games. I just feel like that there's going to be some tired legs. And I know these kids are young and all that, but I just see what happened last year down the stretch, and it looks similar to me. I hope I'm wrong. Hope we burst out tonight and take care of business at Missouri, but we're going to have Tyler score more than 4 points for us to win tonight.
I think the wild card tonight is Tyler Nickel. Teams hit a pretty good percentage against Missouri. And, I mean, he's always capable of giving you – he's 8 threes twice. So I think that's the guy to watch against Missouri tonight.
One other kid, and I don't mean to bang on him at all because he's done some great things. He had a great game at Auburn. But Jalen Washington sometimes goes away.
Yeah.
He'll have moments in the game. Or he did against A&M early on where he couldn't catch the ball, didn't finish strong at the basket, tried to lay stuff up instead of dunking it. He's got to be more aggressive, and I know he's a great kid and all that, but he needs to get a little bit of more of a mean streak in him, in my opinion.
A.K. Okereke might well be their MVP over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
He's been a saving grace because, a lot when Tyler was out for those 6 or 7 minutes with 4 fouls, he and Tyler Nickel did a great job taking care of that press.
Yeah, they really did. I was just, like Mark said after the game, that was the worst possible matchup for us under those circumstances, and they won anyway.
Yep. Again, Byington's a great coach, and I hope we do what we have to do NIL-wise and all the other have to do to keep that guy because there's going to be a lot of people knocking at the door.
Do you want to get into NIL today or just pass on that?
I'm wore out with NIL because, I hear certain things, and then I get encouraged, and then I hear something else, and I get discouraged. So I'm just going to let it play out. The cooler heads and the smarter people prevail in this because, listen, Memorial Gym, like we finally got it now to where we get a consistent 10,000 in there.
Yeah.
There's still one more growth spurt if they're going to keep the gym at 14,000 people, but they've got to do what's right. They've got to.
I mean, the messages on that are so mixed.
I know they are, and I know who to believe. There's a couple people that I trust. There's a couple people in this process I don't trust. So again, it's like a weather pattern that's going up and down.
Yeah, I think you and I both have thoughts. I think we're probably just best just to table them for today. I think
Maybe.
I think you and I see it very much alike.
Yeah, I think at the end of the season, once the NCAA tournament's over, we'll have a lot better view on what's going on because some things will happen fast after that, one way or the other.
Well, I have a feeling that what'll happen is that they will get the usual suspects to cut big checks.
If that's what it takes.
That's the way I make harmony of all of it. But I think the other areas of it, and you know exactly what I mean, are just very disappointing in how they've been handled.
Well, there's a couple of things I've noticed that they've done. I don't know if you do of the press box, but my seats are over behind the handicap section, but a lot of times I sit with Doug and Lucy Jones underneath our basket.
Yeah.
They have added 2 rows, 1 row, and sometimes 2 rows of seating right on the floor. I don't know if you've noticed that, just chair back. And they're charging big money for that. I'm hoping every penny of that goes to the men's basketball program. Because if that's the case, from what I've heard they're charging, it's a nice sum where you could buy a player or two.
Yeah, everything is becoming feels like it's moving in the direction of luxury. I think they are getting a lot of their bank through luxury, and like there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I mean, and that it's kind of consistent with how Vanderbilt has always operated,
right?
The guys on the street don't mean much to them. It's the mega wealthy that do, that underwrite a lot of stuff, and that's where attention goes.
And in their defense, Chris, I will say this: when you have a smaller fan base,
yeah,
you get, you don't have people knocking down your door and to give you money. I understand that, but a happy medium there too, where you treat those folks that have been there for years and years, that you treat them right.
Including the ones that are trying to help you.
Yes, and they're the ones that care. They're the ones that are watching us right now, and the ones that are there every game when the doors open. A lot of the guys that give a ton of money, honestly, don't go to every game because they're on their jets flying all over the country. So I get that too. But, I still go back to this, and I've gotten some pushback on this. I feel like because of the climate with the Predators, the Titans, and all the games being on television, that they need to have a Memorial Gym needs to be smaller as far as seat capacity. Because the only people sitting in those seats most of the time are visiting team fans.
Yeah, I could see taking maybe the back half of each of the upper decks and putting suites in up there as a possibility. I don't know if that's too far from the floor. I don't know if you can see. Someone said that you can't see the other basket from certain parts in the upper deck because of the scoreboard. I haven't sat up there. I'm in the press box, but I wonder if that's true.
That is probably true because the very top of 3F and 3L, the scoreboard is a lot bigger than it used to be when that was built. So I can understand that. I know at Thompson Bowling in Tennessee, they have the same problem. They put in a new scoreboard and there's limited vision. You have to lean down like this to see if the ball went in the basket.
Like if it's that, how can you not check for that?
I just think that they think, well, we're not selling those seats anyway. It's empty space. That's why I say, let's put something up.
Yeah.
Have you been to the Mercedes-Benz Dome? Have you ever been in there?
No, I'd like to, but I haven't.
Okay, they have a standing room. It would be about the same height as 3F and 3L, maybe a little lower. And what they do is just put tables with chairs up there, kind of like they've done in the end zone in football. Just have it as a little party place.
Sure. Put
televisions up there so you can watch it, and just do that in 3F and 3L.
Okay. Well, let's get to back or baseball. I can't speak today if you're ready, unless you had more hoops related topics here.
No, I'm cautionary tale. Tonight will tell us a lot. If we get through Missouri on the road with this same lineup and maybe get Duke back for 5 to 10 minutes Saturday, I feel a lot better. But I'm kind of whistling by the graveyard right now.
Would you take 1 out of 2, Tennessee and Missouri?
Well, I think the most important one is Saturday. You can't lose at home. Since we gave that one away against Oklahoma, these two have become more important.
Yeah, I think their size and physicality could be an issue.
Yeah,
given the issues Vanderbilt's got right now, especially with Nate Ament.
I do think Estrella may be out. I heard he's not playing tonight, whoever they're playing. I heard that on television a while ago.
Okay.
That takes away one of their bigs anyway.
All right, baseball 2-2 after 13-2 bludgeoning of Eastern Michigan yesterday in the kind of game that everybody else played over the weekend.
Right.
4 games in, what do you think?
Mixed bag. Very mixed. Way too early to tell. Too small of a sample size. I'd ever get carried away one way or the other. I will say this. It's obvious the power numbers are going to be better. We've hit 11. I don't know how long it took us last year until we got to 11 home runs. I can see that being a positive. I do think that our starting pitching, once they get lengthened out to where they can go 6, maybe 7 innings, will be fine, because I think the bullpen's got maybe 4 guys right now that I feel really confident in. The rest of them are still question marks. So I think we've got about 7 or 8 guys I feel good about total. But I think we've got to find some more guys to help us in the weekday games so we don't trip up and lose 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, let's hit the lineup first before we get to pitching. I mean, obviously the bright spot so far is Brodie Johnston, who he's got 5 home runs. He's slugging .1529, and he struck out once in 19 plate appearances.
The striking out once is what impresses me more than anything.
Yep, me too.
Not chasing that slider on the outside corner or breaking balls. He's, Braden Holcomb's close. He's better as well at the plate. I don't know what his strikeouts are, but Braden's getting better at it as well. And when those two do that, and you add Colin Barzey's power surge to it, I think we're going to have 4, maybe 5 guys hit 15 home runs or more. Braden's
strikeout numbers are actually worse percentage-wise, but it's a small sample. He struck out 33% of the time. I think that was mid to high 20s a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got 2 bombs, including one to the opposite field that got out. My understanding was by plenty. I didn't see it. Barzey still hasn't walked yet. You'd like to see that. He's striking out a 32% rate, which was kind of Barzey's MO a year ago. Doesn't walk a lot, does strike out a good bit. Now, like if he hits, 3 home runs every 4 games, which he's not going to do, everybody's going to be able to live with that. But I think there's a little bit of emptiness in his offense other than the power output. And the power was definitely legit. I mean, that was 3 home runs, 430 plus. But there are some deficiencies in his offensive game that I think need to be, improved upon.
Well, the one guy that's also, I think, is going to wind up being fine, and he's not hitting it all right now, and he's struggling, is Rustin Rigdon.
Yeah. He hit yesterday, but he looked just flummoxed at the plate over the weekend. It felt like he took a lot of borderline pitches that were probably strikes, right? Good pitches, like right on the inside corner. Probably they're told, like, don't swing at that. Right. And the call went against him. And I'm not saying that were bad calls. When the ball's leaving the pitcher's hand, you can't tell if it's going to be an inch inside or an inch outside. I think they just got spotted pretty well from what I saw. He looked very frustrated, but I think he's such a fundamentally good hitter. I'm not that worried about him. And again, he started to snap out of it yesterday. I think when you change hitting coaches, it's going to be good in the long run. We've already seen the power surge, but changing to Esposito, it's not going to fit everybody's MO. So you have to, each kid has to learn at his own pace with it. And I think Esposito's such a good coach that all these kids will wind up coming through in the long run. One quick question. Who do you think, when Mancini gets healthy, what spot does he take? I stumped the band. Well, I'm thinking, because I thought he was going to play in right.
See, I had him at second.
Well, and that may be where he winds up, because you've got Logan Johnstone in right, who's hitting really well. Yep. And the fundamentals there are really good. He's walked 3 times as much as he's struck out. You need a guy like that in your lineup somewhere, and has a home run and is slugging .833. Not that those numbers are going to continue, but I don't think you take him out, and he really can't play anything other than outfield that I know. Now he could DH, but you've got a log jam there already. I think it's his brother, Carter, who's now the second baseman,
Right.
who's a better hitter than the numbers are showing. And he's only struck out 11% of the time, so he's putting the ball in play a good bit, but it's just not going for hits. I mean, right now, logically, that's your guy, but even there, you have some flexibility because he's a lefty and Mancini is a righty.
Right. You could have a platoon situation there. Same thing at first base. Tommy Gooden's bat needs to be in the lineup because he's one of those guys I think will wind up hitting 15 home runs or more.
Yeah.
I think Gooden, you got to get Mac Whitcomb's bat back in there somehow at DH. I was underwhelmed by Jensen's first weekend. And again, it's adjusting to a new level. I think he'll be fine as he gets more at bats during these weekday games at some point.
By the way, correction, Mancini's a lefty. I was wrong. So that doesn't really give you a lot more flexibility at second. Okay. Because Johnson's a lefty too. But I mean, that you may mix and match until it clicks. I mean, and at some point somebody's going to get hurt. But the Gooden one, I think they really like Jensen at first. Probably in terms of the defense, and Tim Corbin said, I think he was exaggerating. He said first base might be the most important defensive position in college baseball. There's no way that's true, but he's always put a lot of value on that. And of course, when you don't get a hit in your first 12 at bats, I think that's the count.
Yeah.
You maybe just need to sit to. I mean, they have a lot of confidence in him. I think he had a good fall and spring, so. I don't think you just throw a wet blanket on the whole Max Jensen experiment too.
I'll be interested to see today if Whitcomb catches or if the kid from Clarksville catches again. I think Barzy stays as the DH again today.
Yeah, well, Whitcomb, they like Reynolds behind the plate more than they do Whitcomb.
Okay,
who's not caught yet, but I didn't really get to see the wild pitch yesterday. That ended up costing him 2 runs eventually. It was ruled a wild pitch. Was it catchable?
No, it hit the point of home plate.
Okay.
Jack Rabbit up straight in the air. It was nothing.
Okay. That's just a fluke.
Yes, Johnny Bench can't make that play.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, they are going to produce some more runs without the long ball. Like right now, that's not really working for them. That was a big part of what they did last year. I use a formula every year that kind of tells you if your hits are this, if you this many home runs and that many walks and whatever it says, you should score about this many runs. And it works very well on the major league level. For college, it tends to underestimate runs by about maybe 5 to 10%. And I think it's just because of defense. I think major leaguers, there's some things buried in there where they turn outs or batted balls into outs easier than you do in college, where you just don't defend as well. And most teams score about 10% more runs than the formula shows you. Sometimes it's less, and sometimes it's even more than that. Right now, Vanderbilt's scoring 11% less than that formula. So probably if you adjust it to where most college teams are, just by dumb luck, they're scoring about 20% runs less than they usually would with what they've done.
Well, we're actually 1 pitch away from being 3-1.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to have a bad. We had that horrible game on the last game of the trip. And I looked last night. Number 9 Auburn gets whitewashed by Cincinnati 9-0. So it's in the year. I think somebody else lost in the league last night. Kentucky lost to Morehead State. Yep. It's going to happen. I'm not a bit concerned about being 2-2. Let's just say that.
Yeah, in these situations, I'm more looking into what kind of team do I think you are, based on what I've seen and what we're seeing early. And I think absolutely they're going to hit for more power. Although, man, have you seen the run numbers and the home run numbers across college baseball?
I have not.
Virginia scored 69 runs in a series this weekend. And by the way, these run numbers, you now have run rule games a lot of places. So, you're seeing teams that probably aren't even getting their last 3 at bats.
Right. Missouri scored 34 runs in the game.
It scored 34 on Mount St. Mary's in 6 innings offensively. You're just seeing slow pitch softball run numbers a lot of places.
Are we attributing that to early, guys have been pitching off of mounds inside and haven't, I think as the weather heats up, the pitching gets better too. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of things going on. It's teams in the South that got locked out of some of their outdoor stuff, although 2 weeks extra to prepare. So, who knows, maybe not. I do think you're seeing a lot of disparate, great on terrible competition.
Yes.
So you're going to even an okay hitter at the SEC level is just going to demolish Mount St. Mary's pitching or whoever they're facing. So I think there's some of that's going to level out. But I mean, when Colin Barcy hit 118 off the bat.
Oh, yeah, and that's the illegal bat territory.
It is, or it's juice balls, but it's something. I don't know what's going on. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I was actually on I was on another show this morning, and Butch Thompson from Auburn was on there, who's one of my favorite guys in the league. I've interviewed him several times, and I know he's very frustrated about the rule enforcement, the last few years and just the conditions in the game. He's a pitching coach by nature, so he's biased. Sure. But I don't think he's wrong. I don't like it 2014 levels, 2013, where, you needed a sledgehammer and, to get it out of the park. And I don't like it now where cheap fly balls are home runs. There's something in between, maybe 2016-ish that I think is acceptable that we're nowhere near. But I asked him, I said, what do you think's going on? Is it the balls? Is it bats? And he did say at the first of it, he said, back when they addressed everything, I think around 2011 or whatever, he said they didn't really change anything other than they started enforcing the inspection rules and stuff like that on the books. And I know then they used barcodes for bats. And that was a pretty foolproof way, from what I understand. And this is coming from the people that know these things to detect that. But, the baseballs may be part of it too. I asked him, he said, I don't know. He said, but that's the question everybody's asking privately, is what's going on here.
Well, one of the other,
and he said that publicly on the record.
One of the other things I think it may be advantage hitters is that they now go play in the Cape and all that. And I know it's been going on for a while, but these kids now, you can dial in and get rid of your flaws quicker than you used to at the plate.
Yeah, but doesn't that work for pitchers too?
It does, but I think early in the season, until the pitchers round into form, that it's advantage hitters. Well,
and you just got a lot of old hitters in college baseball. Let's say if a pitcher is really skilled at 24 or 25, he's going to be playing pro ball. If there's anything to him, there are some guys that can excel, they're junk ballers or whatever, that, it's their best option and have at it. There's a lot of hitters that are just okay hitters that can dominate college baseball when they're 24 and 25, because I think a lot of your elite pitchers are already gone. That's my theory, but I don't know if I'm right.
Well, the team we're playing right now, Eastern Michigan, is older than Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of juniors and seniors on that team.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of evens out over time. I'm not really worried about it. My concern with Vanderbilt right now, if I had one big concern, the strikeouts are too many.
I think that's going to be part of what they're doing. I do think part of this is they're taking really hard swings. And you're gonna get the trade-off, especially if conditions are favorable to offense, either from the bats or the balls or whatever. Your payoff for connecting is more. I think at this point in time, it's worth a couple of percentage points in strikeout rate for whatever you get in return of when you make contact swinging a little harder.
I've always said 8 to 9 strikeouts don't bother me once you get into double digits. And I think double digits 2 of the 4 games. I mean, look, 3 of our 4 games have been run rules.
Yeah. Arkansas struck out 46 times in Arlington this weekend. Dave Van Horn was not happy about it.
I can imagine.
So, that's one. Go ahead.
Sorry, did they have a new hitting coach at Arkansas?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The other thing I think, and we expected this. I asked Tim Corbin, and I think this is where like people take stuff for granted. Like last year when everybody was like, they don't hit for power, they don't hit for power. Said, hey, wait a minute, they're still doing some things. There's more than one way to win a baseball game.
Yes.
And they were elite defensively, as they usually are last year. They pitched exceptionally well all over the place. And like nobody appreciated it because it was all, hey, they're not hitting home runs. It just dominated the discussion. Well, you take away what they had a year ago, and now you got guys that may turn out to be really good or elite, but you're still trying to find out what you've got. You've got one of your maybe would-be regulars hurt. Maybe that's caused some shuffles. You got a new center fielder. You got a new shortstop. I don't have an excuse for Barcy's throw. That was, he's been their catcher for well over a year. So that just was what it was. But people didn't appreciate those things until now. Like you misplay a fly ball, or line drive or whatever it was hit to Holcomb. They ended up costing the TCU game.
Well, something I want to see them toy with at some point would be DH Gooden. Let's let Holcomb play first and see what Brightwell can do in center.
Now that would be interesting.
I'm saying in a midweek game, just today or maybe this weekend, just to kind of see. And I noticed Maldonado was on deck last night to hit whenever Brodie did the walk-off. So I think get a shot at first also as well.
Yeah, I don't think I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I think it's going to look different at some point.
Fine. I agree with you about one thing. There's only a couple of teams in this league that don't have a chance to get to the NCAA tournament. I think it's going to be a 12, 13 team.
Well, I think there's 14 teams that are good enough to go now. I had some doubts about Oklahoma, and they look better than anybody in the country over the weekend because I had their doubts about their pitching, but their pitching came through with flying colors. Now, can they do it week after week? I don't know. Cam Johnson has never thrown strikes consistently, but he also hasn't had a start where he's gone 7 and thrown strikes.
Right.
So we'll see. But, I mean, I think it's 14 really good teams. Kentucky, I don't know if you noticed, already lost Tyler Bell, who's their best player. He's got a shoulder injury, and those are the kind of things that can knock you out for a year.
So that's a season similar to what happened to Maldonado.
I mean, I don't know, but anytime you hear shoulder injury, I don't ever feel great about it. You remember Carter Young hurt his that one year, in that FIU game, and then just wasn't the same the rest of the year. I mean, shoulders can knock guys out Gavin Grohovac, Michael Early told me at A&M, their third baseman, now first baseman, he said he hurt his shoulder the first week of his freshman year. And then last year when he played, he played about 4 or 5 games and was shelved for the season. That was that same injury that I guess never fully healed, according to his head coach.
And my experience with that with football and athletics, period, you can put a shoulder harness on, but what that does is limits your mobility and your movement. So that'll make you bigger than you know what. So that's the problem. Now you could do it where like Carter did, where he could still throw, but at the plate it can really screw you up.
Yeah, well, and it is his. I guess if you'd rather have it your fielding shoulder, your throwing shoulder, it's his fielding shoulder. But still, it does. And I hate that because I really like Nick Mingione. I think he's one of the best dudes in the league, and he just raves about Tyler Bell.
Yeah,
as a leader, as a good guy. I mean, you hate to, Tyler Bell's a guy that could have easily been top 10 guys off the board in the draft, and who knows, still might be this spring. He's a draft eligible sophomore.
One other thing I want to see from baseball, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I want to see whenever, all starters went around 70 pitches or just over 70 pitches. When they lengthen them to 90 pitches and we don't have to use the bullpen, but maybe for 3 and a third, something like that, I think this is going to be really, really good.
I want to get your thought on the pitching staff as a whole. I've got some mixed feelings about it, but I want to get your take first.
Well, first of all, I think there was an overreaction to Sunday. It was hard to watch all around. We don't get a hit till the 7th inning. We give up 13 runs. We don't play great defense. The bullpen looked terrible. I think all those guys that looked terrible, last night we've already seen the kid, the transfer Faulkner came in and looked good last night. Now, again, Eastern Michigan. But I think guys early on, you can have a bad inning, a couple of bad innings, and you're still going to be fine. I'm putting a number here, Chris. Not going to use names, but after you're starting 4 guys, which I assume is going to be, I don't know what the deal is with Shorey. Is he going to start today?
I wouldn't be surprised. They didn't talk much about him in preseason, which made me wonder, is he still hurt? I talked to somebody closer to his camp that said, and this was like last Friday, said, I expect to see him starting in midweek next week. So we'll see today. Okay. Oh, wait, did you say Shorey or did you say, I'm sorry, you said Shorey. I'm thinking about Hudson Barton.
No, Hudson Barton, I think, is still a ways away before he starts pitching.
Okay.
And I think Stillman may have a little something going on too, and Miller Green. But as aside, let's just set those 3 aside. The starting 3 plus Tyler Baird, who will be when you're only playing 1 game in the midweek. I think those are your 4 starters right now.
Yeah.
Story's okay and pitches today, then he would be. And then I think Luke Guth, even though he had 1 bad inning down there, he's going to be fine. I think we're about 8 or 9 deep. What we've got to do is find about 3 more guys on those midweek games so we don't lose those type of games. You know, that can knock you down a seed by going, instead of going at winning 38 games or 39 games, you only win 32 or 33 because you lost 2 or 3 in the midweek. That's my concern.
You know, there's a lot here to unpack. Are you concerned about Fennel?
No, because if he doesn't work out as a starter and they see that, then he's going to be what he was last year, kind of the silver bullet guy. I'm not concerned with no. Now, in the ballpark, now that we've got a little bit smaller field to the right side, fly ball pitcher, that can be a concern when you bring an LSU in here and all these guys that can drill it, 400 feet. But Connor Fennel's a bulldog, and I think he'll figure it out. Now, again, if it works out that he's only going to be able to give you 3 or 4 innings, then you got to take him out of that starting role.
Yeah. Well, like he faced a really good hitting TCU team, like maybe I think I heard D1 baseball say that might be like a national title kind of team.
I can see that.
I mean, the Stroh-Snyder kid's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft probably. My thing with Fennel, like you don't hit him, like he throws strikes, so he's not going to beat himself with free passes, which is, his control is top 1% in the game, I'm sure. And he doesn't give up a ton of hits, but when he does give up a hit, a lot of time he gets hit hard and hit in the air. And he gave up 2 bombs the other day, and there were 2 more that would have been out.
Yes.
In like at Vanderbilt or anywhere else, it was a college park. And that's where I'm like, okay, on one hand, there are things he does that are really elite, but on the other, the things that he doesn't do well, which is give up hard contact in the air, and he's got more of a fly ball tilt than a ground ball tilt. Now is not to be the time to be a fly ball pitcher. Now, look, he strikes a lot of them out, so there aren't as many balls in the air as there are other guys that are fly ball pitchers. I get that, but the conditions in the game are not very conducive to that weakness of his.
No, and I think that, last year you look at him pitching in a small ballpark like Tennessee's, the bulldog mentality came out and he pitched well there. So,
yeah.
And we're only looking at, he's only thrown whatever he threw, 72 pitches or whatever. So, again, it's a small sample size. They're working on that, I'm sure, right now as we speak, to try to figure out what can we do to keep the ball in the park with him. But he's going to have a major role. He has to have a major role.
Yeah. What did you think about Nate Taylor?
Like Nate Taylor, walked a couple, but I thought Nate's again, his competitiveness is important. I think he's going to be one of the guys that may not get us to that 6th, 7th inning on a Sunday. To be more of the staff type thing on Sunday. I think Austin Nye is the key to the success of this team because we're going to need to go 6 or 7 just about every outing for us.
They think Nye is the best pitcher on the team, and other than his fielding, there wasn't a lot to complain about the other day.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't get the yips because that was pretty bad.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the other thing I'm excited about, I feel like Jacob Schultz is going to really help us from the left side. And I think that England Bryan's definitely going to be a closer that you can depend on.
Yeah, I want to hit on those. But with Taylor, someone was saying on the board they didn't think he'd be good. I mean, and people have opinions of that, like he didn't have an out pitch. I'm like, well, first of all, like his strikeout rate between Summer and Georgia last year was like 40-something%. It was right up there where Fennell's is. Right. So he was getting guys out somehow, and he does not walk a lot of guys. I think the other day the strike zone was minuscule. Like I feel like the actual zone
was amazing.
Usually well, no, I think it might have been worse than a major league zone when he pitched.
He was tight.
Well, yeah, I mean, like usually the corners are going to go to the pitcher a lot of times. Like I felt like a half baseball. I felt like the zone on the edges was maybe a half baseball less than what the zone should have been. Like pitches I thought were strikes on the corners weren't called that way. I could be wrong, but I think he got an unusually small zones. I'm not really worried about him. And he's the guy, according to StatCast or whatever the metric they were running, he was throwing 6 different pitches in that game.
And that's the thing. I think you can narrow that down. If he's had a couple of pitches, he can still get people out with 4 pitches, a 4-pitch game.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's what you do. That's what you work on every week. You say, all right, look, we're going to work on the cutter in the offseason or whatever it may be. We're going to work on the cutter in the offseason. It's not getting people out, and it can be hit out of the ballpark. So we're going to take that and put it in our hip pocket for now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think durability may be the question. He just hasn't pitched a lot, so that's a good call there. But I think in terms of effectiveness, I think he's going to be fine. And the runs he gave up were on the bullpen. So, I think your point about Scholes is like right now he's the only left-hander they had, and that's another thing that didn't occur to me till like yesterday. Is you got Miller Green out, you're going to see him at some point. You got Stillman out, I think you'll see him at some point. And Shory's their other lefty, so maybe you see him today.
Either that, Miller Green's injury, they may be thinking we got to keep Shory as a bullpen guy. But if that was the case, I think you would have seen him.
Would have seen him this weekend, unless they changed their mind after the weekend.
Yeah,
they could have said, hey, maybe something with Stillman or Green has pushed them back. I don't know. I'm speculating. Got no info there, but like I do wonder, like, would they have got another win if it was there a place where they could have used a lefty? They just didn't have one this weekend. But yeah, going forward with one lefty who's thrown 7 career innings is not a great way to go about it right now.
Yeah, we'll know more today, because if Shory doesn't start, and let's say they go with Wyatt and they do, or someone else, then we'll know that's what they're going to do, is just change him to a bullpen guy.
Well, or there's something going on that we don't know. It's one of the two with an injury or a health. And again, I don't have any information there. I'm just running the possibilities. What did you think of Kranzler and Faulkner? They were obviously awful. Faulkner was better yesterday against better competition or worse competition.
But
anyway.
Sorry. Faulkner has to rely on movement. Yesterday, the ball was moving. There, it was not. It was fair. It was where I don't know if you're old enough to remember, there used to be a place here called Fair Park. He was throwing Fair Park pitches.
Yeah. I mean, it looked bad. So
I could have hit him, and I'm 65 years old almost. If he doesn't have movement, it's going to get cranked.
Yeah.
He doesn't have much velo. His arm angles are great. They're deceptive. You could tell the Eastern Michigan kids were very uncomfortable. And I think SEC guys, if he can get you through maybe 3 batters, especially free swingers during the SEC weekends, but you got to make sure you pick your spots when to put him in the game.
Well, and he's a guy that even if he's not really good, he can pitch so often.
Yes.
That if you're down 10-1 in the 6th inning of a Friday or Saturday game, that's probably your guy, because you're just going to go, hey, look, if we catch lightning in the bottle day and he's got his stuff, and we don't, the traditional term is like mop-up guy. Like, he's durable enough to do that, maybe even a couple days in a row, if you have to have it to save your other guys for when you reset the next day and it starts at 0-0.
I think Cyber also is a kid that can pitch some out of the pen on Friday and then again on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think they're hurting for good options. I mean, Cyber was fine this weekend, not great, I guess, but you talked about Brian. Gut's going to be better. Wasn't good the other day, but I think he'll end up being okay. He was, he barely. I don't know if he had a bad outing a year ago.
Right.
Kranzler, I'm a little worried about because Kranzler's not an overpowering guy. I mean, I think he'll be okay, but again, it's a guy who can give up some home run balls and has in the past. And again, not that's not the time to be that kind of guy.
Well, one of Tim's favorite thing is I like the kid's heartbeat.
Yep.
I think where Alex needs to work a little bit is get his heartbeat better, because I think he gets a little, when things don't go right with the first hitter or two, he kind of clinches the baseball.
Yeah, and look, we still haven't seen three guys who will be bare minimum serviceable arms for them, if not really good arms. I mean, Stillman could be a great arm, and Miller Green. I know everybody thinks the last year Miller Green's got outstanding baseball in his history. And Shorey, we'll see, was fair a year ago. He can fill a role, and that's three lefties, not just three arms, but three lefties. And some of these other guys that got lit up this weekend, they're either gonna get it figured out or they won't be pitching in big spots.
Well, I'm going to throw a name at you that I think is going to be really good and help us a lot, even in the SEC, is Wyatt Nadeau.
Yeah,
his attitude. He carried himself on the mound. I know it was just one appearance, but I love what he looked like.
Yeah. I mean, I think they said he'd already hit 100 in winter. So you'll take that. Let's see. I think we've just got one question in the mailbag. Yeah, are you ready for that?
Sure.
All right. The mailbag is sponsored by Sutherland & Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If you or a loved one has been hurt in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call, 615-846-6200. See what your rights are and if they can help. Luke is on the guest line. That is presented by friend of the show, John Levin and Wobble Bond Dickinson. We thank both those folks for their sponsorships of our show. Harley Hog 44 wants to know your crystal ball on the Frankie Collins situation. Of course, we were going to get a Frankie Collins question today.
Well, I don't think Frankie Coss said it last week. I don't think Frankie will ever play again at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, privately, nobody has said they think he'll be back to me.
Yeah.
Other than the on the record comment I got from the school. So,
and Chris, I don't know how to handle these situations. You have to put yourself in Coach Byington and then, of course, athletic director. When you're paying these kids money, I don't know how the contracts are structured and all that. It's a tough deal, man. It's like the kid at Kansas. They said he pulled his calf muscle the other day. Come to find out, it was just
didn't.
And that's not true. And it's just a dirty, mucky. I don't like it. Again, we've all beat a dead horse, but we've got to get more guardrails in place.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day, and this person pointed out to me, I don't have any knowledge, but he said, I wonder if the way that Mark Byington talks about it, is there some kind of a legal reason that he has to speak about it the way he does with contracts or whatever?
I agree, because you could tell the difference when he talked about Duke Biles compared to Frankie Collins.
Yep.
There was a different tone, different words were chosen. Yeah. And another totally different scenario is Mason Nicholson.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that kid got. I know they were hoping to get 8 minutes a game out of him, and he's never seen the floor, almost like a Hemingway situation.
He's played 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that was
long ago, November. Yeah. Parting thoughts, Luke.
Again, my worries are if we get through tonight and get Duke back for a little bit Saturday, I think things may go well for the week. If not, I'm really concerned about these last 5 games. We got 3 straight on the road. None of them will be easy, not even Ole Miss. So things could go really, really well, and we could stay in that 4 seed or move up to maybe a 3, or if you win them all, go to a 2. But if not, we could drop down to that 7 or 8 line if we don't watch out.
Yeah, 8 might be tough without just a complete free fall. But
that's what I mean. It would be a free fall.
Yeah. Even then, I don't know. I guess if you lose, you got 6 games left and then the tournament.
Yeah,
you could lose 7 in a row.
Yeah, that's the same record as last year if you do that.
21-11. I don't think that's going to happen, but
No,
I get what you're thinking. Now there's been a couple of times this year, like I didn't feel good about the Auburn matchup.
I didn't either.
And they won that one, and so.
But then we gave it back. We gave it back to the Oklahoma game. That's the
right.
one in your craw. Everybody talks, well, we got blown at Arkansas and didn't play hard. Yeah, but that was a road loss where you probably would have lost the game if you played your A game because Arkansas was really, really good that night.
Yep, exactly. All right, Luke, appreciate you joining us. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Chris.
And by the way, the listeners, I think Chip Frederick is going to be on with me tomorrow. I know we used to have Chip on as a regular for baseball a couple years ago. The life got really busy for me. I think we're bringing that back. Chip and I are trying to settle on a day a week where we can kind of make it a regular issue. But we will do a one-off tomorrow. It's a regular issue, a regular show, like, Mondays or Tuesdays at 1 or whatever it will end up being. And I think it'll be earlier in the week than later, but we're going to do one tomorrow just to get those going. So anyway, looking forward to that. The podcast has always been free. We plan for it to always be free. Here's how you can help us keep it that way. Subscribe to our Vandy247 YouTube channel. Give the podcast a review and a 5-star rating. That helps us get noticed. Both those things are free. So if you listen to us on YouTube or watch us, go look where we get podcast reviews and leave us a 5-star with some nice comments. That helps. If you are listening, you have not subscribed to Vandy247.com, please do that. $139.99 a year. You get stuff there that you don't get here. Finally, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, give me a shout at chrislee70@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you again soon with more episodes of the Vandy 24/7 podcast.